Mr. Roland Martins, sir. Roland Martins, sir, is a social activist and the coordinator of Goa Civic and Consumer Action Network, a voluntary consumer organization which promotes civic and consumer rights and has set up consumer forums in different villages of the state. He has also initiated the Young Civic and Consumer movements to promote civic and consumer rights on the campus by setting up the consumer welfare clubs in schools, higher secondary schools, colleges of Goa. He is a member of Goa State Consumer Protection Council and the Consumer Conciliation Committee of the Department of Civic Supplies and Consumer Affairs, Government of Goa. Sir, today will enlighten us with the consumer rights and duties. Now I would request Sir to take over.
Okay,
Yes, sir. Come on.
Yeah, so I think most of you would have got the leaflet by now, and the reason I brought these leaflets is sometimes it's good to freshen up your mind with the finer points that are there with regards to the Consumer Protection Act. One of my consistent submissions to students of this college when I keep coming here is that the time has come to engage with the act, because unless you engage, it continues to remain an academic exercise. And these days we've been spending time going to different schools, higher secondaries and colleges as part of this program of the department. And I come across lecturers, teachers who keep saying, "Sir, I remember you came and spoke to us in 8th standard, and now I am a lecturer in the college, and I now remember what you said then." So students, I think one very important thing is to understand that the law is there, but what we require is a movement. Kaido asa, bore kaide asa. There are all types of laws. The Motor Vehicle Act has been now revised. The legal metrology department has got new amendments. The point which we find consistently lacking is it not turning into a movement. And I think this is where we need to bridge the gap. And I just want to spend some time talking about this. You see, the problem here is that as a student of this college, if you go home today and ask your parents, what do you think about the Consumer Protection Act? It will be a good exercise to find out what do they think of themselves as consumers. And when I began the movement in MAPSA in 1991, it was an uphill task. When I got drawn into this basically by teachers of a higher secondary who told me that, "Sir, when we go to get an LPG gas cylinder, they catch our shirts and threaten us." And I was thinking, why would somebody do something like this? Then when I went down to the showroom, I was shocked to know that we didn't even have what we call today now a domestic gas card. There was a small little paper in a plastic bag which made out you to be a consumer. And then the whole process started. We came to Panjim, we discussed with Bharat Gas, and I remember the then sales manager saying to me, asking me, "Where is the showroom in MAPSA?" And then I thought to myself, if this guy is the chief general manager of Bharat Gas for the state of Goa, I mean Union Territory, whatever, state of Goa, territory, they call them territory managers. If he did not know where his own showroom was, you can imagine what is the plight of the consumer. And then over a period of time I discovered which today I mooted a campaign called Consumer Literacy. I come across double graduates, double MAs, and people who can't basically read their rights and cannot even write their complaints. So I have mooted the idea that we should observe 8th of September as Consumer Literacy Day. The reason is that I find today people are not able to read their rights. In a bus going from Miramar to Panjim, it's there, written there, lady seat. But if you interview many of the passengers in the bus, very few of them will understand that that is a law. That when it's written there, lady seat, it is part of a legislation. It's part of a notification which can be enforced in law. So the same thing goes with writing complaints. Very few people are able to write their complaints because according to them, writing a complaint is a very elaborate process. And I was watching the street play and I was just saying to Regina ma'am that in most street plays or most presentations, we equate the consumer law immediately with the consumer forum. And I think this is where we need to bridge the gap. I was just saying to Nitin sir, तुम्हारा time आ गया. The question is, do people feel that they can use a complaint box or a complaint book? Or do they feel that the word, the act, right, which says right to be heard, if I go to a shopkeeper and tell him my problem, will he do anything? He would not. Most likely he say, os, because eyes are again a loss. The point here is being able to speak to the shopkeeper, I think is the most important thing. We have a severe personality problem in Goa. I find most students, for example, if I've been doing campaigns these days, you go to the Panjim bus stand, and the other day I was in Xavier's College, students tell me, sir, they don't allow us to enter the bus in Ponda. Until the bus is fully, it's full, then they say you enter inside, to half. So I said, what is the meaning of half? I'm full. I have a name. But you see, students are not able to resist this. Students will not take up with the conductor, who the hell are you to call me half? Because we suffer from a personality problem, in the sense we cannot assert ourselves. And this, I think, starts right at the age of school. That's why when we started the Young Civic and Consumer Movement in 2006, I insisted that we will start talking about consumer club at the 8th standard. And I look at it as an 8-year process, because to arm yourself with knowledge which is, has a cutting edge, it's not easy. It takes a lot of time. And I always, when I go to talk to students where there are lots of girl students, I keep saying to them, don't take the shit anymore. Resist. But you see, so many girl students are being harassed in the buses. They just do not, they're not able to express themselves. And I feel consumer protection law is one of the best beneficial legislation I have found that can equip you with a multiple interpretation. Whether you look at it, the right to be safe, the right to safety, or the right to be informed, how you interpret it is left to you. When I sit for the Consumer Conciliation Committee cases, many people come and tell me, and I know the drafting of lawyers, they say, the consumer has come with unclean hands, and he's mischievous, and he's this and that. And I always remember, Dr. Rao and Shabir Ali has trained these guys to write it this way. But the point here is that, is the consumer determined to push his case? This is the crux of it. And that's why next year I'm proposing that we have a lot more street plays with personality development. That do I feel confident enough? I was discussing with students the other day, and I do this with most of the schools. Teacher tells you to buy a 200-page notebook. You go into a shop, don't you page it, he gives you the book, you buy it, you come home. You look at it, it's 172 pages. It's his duty to tell you, don't you nare, because I 172 get. But the point is, are we able to say it? And one interesting thing happened recently, 1.5 years back, we had a training program for the coordinators of our consumer clubs. And one teacher, she's an art teacher in a school in Shishini, she went to the 6th standard and told them, don't take chocolates from the shopkeeper. They have to give you change. 1 rupaya deeu paas hai, 50 paise, no chocolates. So this boy goes to the shop next day and the fellow gives him chocolates. He says, I'm not taking. So he said, how is it? He's straight. He said, Jago, grahak, jago. The shopkeeper literally started to sweat. Because if you have a 6th standard student who can resist taking chocolates, now the teacher told him, write it down on a piece of paper or a notebook, what you actually did. And she sent it on WhatsApp and then we made it viral with all the teachers of the clubs. And when I met the headmaster, he says, Arey, in my school this happened and I did not know. So he called the parents, he called this boy and felicitated them in the school assembly. Now the point I'm making here is that, you see, these are the small things that make a difference. Going to a consumer court, appearing before Ma'am Regita and filing a petition, okay, is one thing and it should come at some point of time. But I think using a complaint book, and I've started doing this very regularly. Now I have even purchased nearly 10,000 postcards from the postal department. The postal department has a Meghdut postcard. It's a very interesting postcard. Normal postcard costs 50 paisa. Because it carries an advertisement, they have subsidized it. It costs only 25 paisa. So I told some students, "Tune 4 complaint barobar jata 1 rupaya." So they were stunned. 1 rupaya sir, kasha lav shakta. So I showed them the postcards. Now this is where we need to start. And I remember this because they're the first consumer activists in Udupi. They came back from the USA at that time and they wrote a book, Servants Not Masters. And they were using postcards in those days to write to the bureaucrats. Today, because of email and WhatsApp, we tend to forget this. But I tell you, send 200 postcards to the governor, he'll have a big impact. Because every postcard has to be entered in the system. You can file an RTI on how many postcards you got, what action you have taken on this postcard, and the cost of the postcard is just 25 paisa. So, the common citizen needs to feel empowered with this Consumer Protection Act. And my appeal to the consumer cell in the college now is to demystify this law. Make it simple. Barik lokat or kaido kaso vapru shakta. I remember I was doing a program in my school in St. Brito's a few years ago. And they were waiting for me. I talked about PCR, packaged commodity rules, this, that, the other. You cannot alter the price. So one student stand up, sir, or textbook 60 rupees. Label gatla 75. Complain korba aata. Principal is sitting this side, teacher is sitting this side. Tension in the hall. Everybody is waiting to see what Roland Martins is going to do now. So I said, you can file a complaint. So soon as the session got over, he came. We are pointing, father. I said, look at the textbook. It's not done by father. School has not done it. Holy Faith International hamare. So I called the teacher, Diana Dawes, 4 students. They came to the conciliation committee. So the company representative was sitting from the other side. I said, have you put this label? He said, yes sir, but it is for next year. We are not charging extra now. So he said, give me the bill. I said, here's your bill. You have charged the school. I said, no, card push. 4,500. He shelled out. The point is, these students went in every class and returned that 15 rupees to the students. You see, that was the empowerment moment. The PTA recognized the work of the Consumer Club, and last year they did a Jubilee celebration. That student was in the 9th standard, he came, he did a power presentation. He's finished his college and everything, he's working now. And he came to just tell the students, when I was in school we did this. This was our success story. Why don't you also do it? And therefore I think students, what we need to do is at that moment where it's a turnaround moment where you decide enough is enough. I won't take it anymore. It's my 50 paisa, it's my 1 rupee. I will tell Batas, no 999, give me my 1 rupee back. Now the question is, I say this in many of the lectures. So they say, Roland Martins, tu 1 rupaya, 5 rupaya, 10 rupaya zogatta mare. Ki hai, goy kar mare ami, sogle posh bikari. So that is the problem in Goa. Besides 450 years of colonization, It is this problem that we do not want to fight for our 50 paisa and 1 rupee, and I think it's very important for students. I mean, when you're in law college, you don't talk of pocket money, you talk of your credit card or debit card. But in schools, we have to tell kids about how important their pocket money is. And I think this kind of identifying of strategies, and issues is very, very important. So we need to package the law in very different ways for different sets of people. And I would say, I wouldn't advocate the same tactic or strategy in Perne, what I would do it in Kanpur. Because the geographic and cultural settings are also very important. Because this is a beneficial legislation. This is a legislation that has to be understood. It has to be implemented by conviction. I don't file a complaint because I know that there is a district commission. I don't file a complaint because I will get compensation. I file a complaint because I just will not tolerate injustice. I will not tolerate being cheated. I think that's the big difference. And if we already start, I think, looking at the implications of the new Act 2019, I think it's very, very crucial. I've been sitting with the department officials looking at the implications like direct selling, what are the various rules have to be drafted, and Goa offers that opportunity because we are a small state. We can create a huge impact for the country because of the fact that we are a tourist destination. And I would request that the college consumer cell also start looking at this. How do we look at tourism as a consumer product? How do we look at the tourist as a consumer? And the services that you use as goods and services in the tourism sector. Because otherwise, you can see what happened there, been happening on the beaches these days. It's resulting in murder. I mean, if I question you or you question me and whatever, it's physical fights and whatever. So we don't even have a redressal mechanism on the beach. Now, beach is a place for rest and recreation. So when I talk, I always talk about R&R. So people are very happy. Roland Martins is talking about rest and recreation. And I say, no, it's rights and responsibilities. But in a tourism setting, if you say R&R, most people will think of rest and recreation. But we do not have a robust grievance redressal system. And I think the need of the hour is because the college is also located close to Miramar Beach. So you don't have to go very far. If you just go across the road, you will come across so many tourists. In fact, I have a very strange thing here. My mugshot is on all the quality ice cream cycles, right from Miramar to Panjim. Every quality cycle fellow has my mugshot. Why? Because I busted them. All these red cycles you can see along the road selling quality ice cream, they are all absolute cheats. You can see they have removed the MRP. 90% of the products MRP has been removed. They will charge you 20 rupees more per ice cream. If I find some change now, I would be really shocked. But some of these guys told me, sir, हम बिहार से आया, रात को ऐसा ही काम देता है, टिलर लेके वो MRP निकालने का. Now, this is the kind of thing that actually damages the image of Goa. And one of the reasons I was able to act, I was waiting for the bus there, and then I found that these tourists were, fighting with this guy, and I went and said, what is it? And they say, chor hai, 20 rupiya nikalta hai. So I looked at it, I was shocked. 40 rupees ice cream, the guy is selling it for 60. Now, if this can happen a few meters away from the the police headquarters and all the major offices in Panjim, you can imagine what's happening in the rest of Goa. So essentially, I think we need to first make the redressal system robust, very simplified, and that is why I would say, I would look at the consumer cell, possibly designing very simple formats for people to file their complaints, and also give feedback. Because products are, the way the cheating goes on, or the way people have been taken for a ride, one is of course in that form. The other thing is the regular services. For example, LPG. I think this is what Nitin was saying when we were having a cup of tea in the office, that people do not feel it's their responsibility to get their cylinder weighed. Now there is a weighing machine in the delivery vehicle of the LPG company. He is supposed to, if you read the rule book, it's mandated that he should hang it on the belt, on his belt, so that you can see the weighing machine and you should be able to weigh the cylinder. But you see, 90% of consumers in Goa will not ask for that weighment to be done. And that is why underweight cylinders are being delivered. Now they have removed 4 kilos of gas and they are putting 4 kilos of water in the cylinder and delivering it. I was doing a program in Pilar College, Father Angels. That whole area, Goa Velia and that full area, regular problems. You go to South Goa, you go to Sankwa, Zuari, all these areas, perennial problem, robbing of gas. Now, in a product which we campaigned in 1991, we are still talking about LPG in 2025. So you can imagine what is the nature of the problem. The other thing is also to understand how to get compliance. And with this I would conclude my remarks, is that, on an LPG cylinder, you have got 40 lakhs insurance cover on it. But nobody will ever tell you this. Now what we started doing is telling people, we can give you an insurance policy of 40 lakhs with a premium as little as 100 rupees. Now that's what catches the imagination of a Mahila Mandal member of self-help group. Sir, kashe jata? And then I say, you go to your gas book, look at the last page and it says, mandatory mechanical check, call the mechanic. The moment he visits your house and punches the details into the system, your LPG insurance gets activated. Now I think the ability to look at the law, look at the whole methodology that's available and turn it on its head to cater to a specific audience. And my last remarks would be that if we can get the legal aid cells of the college to tie up with the consumer cell for a specific period, I'm not saying that they should only do this, but if some of the legal aid cells would take up Consumer Protection Act for the next academic year, I think we could test out some of these things at the ground level and give feedback to the government as to say, this is what needs to be done in the years ahead. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. Thank you.